One of the things that a lot of people don't know is how important your nonverbal communication is in your ability to get things done. Most importantly, in that really critical ability to sell something, right? Whether you're selling yourself, selling your product, you meet a nice lady, you want to sell yourself to that nice lady, whatever it is, that body language is super important. And so I get the honor and the privilege today of speaking with a body language expert, Miss Linda Clemons. Linda Clemons is the founder and CEO of lindaclemons.com. And I'm going to mute myself real quick before I dig deeper into that. But Miss Clemons, how you doing today, sister?
I'm doing wonderful, my brother. And thank you so much for having me on your show. And thank you so much for all the work that you are doing in our community, in your community, around the nation and around the world. So thank you for helping us, people of deep, rich melanin color, get on the path of wealth. So thank you for that.
Well, you know what? I'm happy to do that. It's an honor to participate in all of this, because I think as Black people, I think that we are in the middle of just this beautiful business revolution. We're doing things we've never done before. And in fact, even with this current pandemic, I feel like that's just become a huge opportunity for awareness for so many people, and so many people are changing their lives. So I think this is really exciting. So let me ask you this. So Ms. Clemons, and everybody, I want you to know her company is called Sisterpreneur Inc. I should have mentioned that she's the CEO and founder of Sisterpreneur Inc. And so Ms. Clemons, let's just jump right into this. So you are a body language expert. So what does that mean? What type of training comes with that? Like, tell us about that a little bit.
So let me tell you, regarding being a nonverbal communications expert, a body language expert, Dr. Watkins, we all have it within us, because it is the first language before we were able to speak a word at all. It's the nonverbal communication. It goes back to primitive, when we made sounds to be able to get what we want. So when you talk about nonverbal communication, I have a tagline: I'm able to hear the inaudible and see the invisible. So to give you a good example, if I say to you, Dr. Watkins, I'm really excited about being here on your show, and I'm saying the words, but my arms are folded, I am closing off a power zone. And I love it what Emerson said. There's a quote by Emerson that goes like this: I cannot hear what you are saying because who you are being is getting in the way. So can you imagine, a little bitty baby doesn't even have to say any words, but the baby knows how to cry. It knows how to push its little legs back and turns its head away when they don't want to eat something, the nonverbal. And why so critical? Because the moment that you think about something, the moment that you think about, it comes about. It comes across on your face. So whatever's on the mind shows up in the matter, and it takes less than a millisecond. So your body language is critical. It's critical all over the world. Do you know, if we just did this, if I did this, show you how important body language is. And when I'm talking about emblems, these are emblems, Dr. Walker. So in the United States, what does this mean? In the United States, the sigma, it's like A-OK, right? If I did this to you and say, hey, yo, Dr. Watkins, you A-OK. But if you were in different parts of the world, this means it's obscenity. And in different parts of the world, it means another man is having sex with your wife. If I was in Italy and I go like this and I'm talking to someone and I did like this and I tap my nose, then in Italy, what this simply means is you are in trouble. But if I was in the UK, this means keep it to yourself, brother, confidential. So we have to be aware, if you are going to do business globally, if you are going to do business on the internet, be it virtual like we are doing now because this new pandemic, it is critical. People could go to different parts of the world and you could use the wrong signal and you're liable to be up in jail. So your body language is important. It is your first language before you are able to speak a word. I am trained in analytical interviewing, which is a nice word for interrogation. So I'm trained in that. So a lot of my girlfriends and my guy friends, they invite me out to dinner. They invite me out to lunch. I tell this when I'm on the stage that it's been quite a few years where I actually bought groceries where you eat for the week or at home in your house. And the reason why is because my guy friends and my girlfriends, they always invite me out to dinner or to lunch. And I like fine dining. Because if there's someone new in their life, they want me to confirm or affirm. But you already know. You already know. See, here's the deal to the brothers and sisters out there listening. In the words of Keith Sweat, when you meet somebody and that pit in your stomach, it's the part of your limbic system, then all of a sudden you're trying to connect with that person. And then you hear the song by Keith Sweat, something, something just ain't right. You know it. And that's the brain, the part of the brain called the amygdala that is speaking to us, and it's built in. So it's built into all of us. Now, what can you do to do training? When my master students come to me, Dr. Watkins, one of the things that I have them do, some of my master classes, we'll go to the courtroom. We can watch a case. I'll take them to the airport. We go to different places where there are people watching, because the 7 emotions are universal around the world, be it happiness, fear, surprise, disgust, contempt, anger. That's universal around the world. Doesn't matter whether you're sight impaired, doesn't matter whether you are hearing impaired. It's universal. So we know it. But what takes me to the next level, in addition to have been doing this for over 3 decades, for 30 years, I know y'all out there thinking, 30 years, girlfriend looks good. I woke up like this, boo. But anyway, is that being 100% present in someone's presence and practice. High tech. Everyone's on the computer. Everyone's online. Everyone's doing this. Everyone's tweeting. Everyone's TikTok, and everyone's doing this. Always remember this: high tech will never ever replace high touch. So that's a long answer for those that want to study. You could study books on psychology, if you will, to know the seat and the soul of the mind, or you can study the brain, because check this out. You know, they say the mind is a terrible thing to waste. Let me tell you something. That super neo computer is what drives everything in your body. Am I right? You know. So to take whatever thing and begin to master. So over 30 years of mastery in that. And of course, working with Fortune 500, Fortune 100, and being able to being in sales all my life, there are certain cues that we recognize. And Dr. Watkins, whether you have children or family members, you know if somebody that's in your presence, if they're not telling the truth, you know if a child is something's up, you know if something's going down, because they're out of their baseline. I know that was a long answer, because I want to make sure that I feed your people as much as I possibly can.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll tell you, I was responding to some comments in the chat while you were talking, and I think, and I know, I love what you're saying about understanding, just, starting among many things with cultural competency, when you're talking about the AOK and things like that. And you're right. I remember being in business school and learning about how, I guess they marketed, I don't know if it was the Pinto in South America, and or Nova Chevy. It was one of those cars where it actually meant no go or something, and or when they marketed baby food in one part of the world, and they thought that literally it was ground up babies, and because they didn't take the time to learn the culture. And I agree with you. I think that's so huge. But then also, with that part about the subconscious mind, I happen to be marrying a therapist, and we talk all the time about the subconscious mind, and I'm convinced that that's the most powerful part of your brain. That's where, when we talk about the spirit and just when something just didn't feel right, I learned to listen to that, because I realized that's the smartest part of who I am. Especially when you're in an environment for a very long time and you learn to feel your way around, and you don't even know where it's coming from. That's your subconscious mind. So can you speak to that a little bit in terms of how you've tapped into your subconscious mind when it comes to your ability to kind of pick up and pull out what's happening, even the things that are not on the surface?
Well, the good thing about it, and you said you married a therapist. I have a brother who is also a psychotherapist and bad to the bone. So what's so critical about the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is not going to lie to you. It's not going to lie. It's designed to tell you the truth, and it sends the signals from the brain. So if we talk about the brain, we talk about something called the amygdala. That's the scientific term for it. But I'm going to use call it reptilian brain. And the reason why I'm using reptilian brain is because, just like reptiles, they can't make good pets because they constantly live in fear. So when your reptilian brain, that's the part of your brain that protects you, that guards you, that lets you know danger is coming. It's the part of the brain when you hear a loud noise in the house and you freeze. It's the part of the brain when you go into fear, then you freeze, then you flight, and then you fight if you're backed up against the wall. It's the part of the brain that protects you. Now, what happens when we're dealing with the subconscious mind? We have to be careful of the power of our words and the power of our tongue, because someone greater than me, and there's a book that I read and you read, the Bible, that also says there's power in the tongue. You can speak a thing and add life life to it. Now, why is that important? Because if you keep saying things to yourself or you speak it out, here's what takes place. Because the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between falsehood or reality, then automatically it'll start to act up on it. The subconscious mind is so powerful. There's an actor, one of my favorite actors, you know, Dr. Watkins, he was in, come on, help me, Silence of the Lambs, Anthony Hopkins, right?
Anthony Hopkins, yes.
Now, by the way, if it's my favorite actor, I know who it was. But as a speaker and as a presenter and as someone who wants to build rapport, guess what I just did? By asking you, the audience, as Dr. Watkins, by you helping me, wow, that's a connection to let him know I'm not perfect. So in one of his movies, I believe was Meet Joe Black, and he was playing the role of a character that I believe that was having a heart attack, right? Guess what? That was the movie, I believe. And what was happening is he's such a great actor that getting into that state, and I don't know if he's a method trained actor or what have you, but getting into that state, what took place, the body didn't know that it wasn't real. So that's why certain scenes, they have to call the paramedics. That's why certain scenes, the body thought it was ready to shut down. It was having a heart attack. Do you know there was a study that was done, and I think it was like over 60% of many of the men that are in prison today, someone spoke into their life, you're not going to be no good. You're going to be just like your daddy. You're going to be worthless. So be careful what you speak. Doesn't matter all the wonderful dynamic speakers that you have on your platform and all the teachings that you have, the voice that you trust the most, for everyone out there watching and listening, the voice that you trust the most is your voice. So you have to be careful of your self-talk. That is why someone who can be just down and out with nothing and they see something in their mind. There's a saying that goes, if you can see it in your mind, you can have it in your hand and begin to plant that and begin to manifest on that. And then the brain begins to act up on it. That is why when you could be laying up in the hospital with tubes running in your body, your heart may be working, your lungs may be working, your liver may be working, but boo, if you are brain dead, they pulled the plug because it's that super neo computer that sends all kinds of messages. So be careful as to who you surround yourself with. Be careful as to what you read and what you plant into your subconscious mind, because it's constantly acting. Now, when we talk about the subconscious mind, and let me tell you how I operate out of it. I'm looking, and I know some of y'all say, now this is getting deep. I want you to think of PFC, think of private first class, a good way to remember it. P as in Paul, F as in Frank, C as in Charlie. And I'm telling you that so we can talk about the prefrontal cortex, okay? Prefrontal cortex. Then I want you to, you got to demonstrate that again. Very good student, prefrontal cortex. Then we're gonna talk about the insula. How many of you remember those cartoons where you had the little devil on the shoulder and the little angel? And I'm aging myself. I'm in the Flip Wilson show. Flip Wilson will say, the devil made me do it. The devil made me do it. So here's what's happening with the prefrontal cortex and the insula. Your prefrontal cortex is your Dr. Watkins, your Linda Clemons, your leaders that you respect. It says, look, if I were you, I wouldn't do that, my brother. I wouldn't do that, my sister. This is what you want to do. This is your goal. This is your dream. But your insula drives the PFC crazy because the insula said, child, honey, tomorrow's not promised. I will go ahead and live my life today. So check this out. So if I'm trying to lose weight, trying to get my body ready and everything, and I know I got to get rid of them donuts, then all of a sudden my habit, if I go to the post office a certain time, I could go different routes. But if I go the route and I wait and go at 3 o'clock when the donuts are coming out of the oven, all of a sudden I begin to smell those donuts. And I know that the moment that I take a bite, it melts in my mouth. But the prefrontal says, yo, girl, you want to look good in that swimsuit. You want to look, you trying to compete with Beyonce. You got to get ready, sis. The insula saying, girl, honey, you better eat that donut now and think about Mr. Later. You better go ahead and eat that donut. And so what happens is we have a tendency to lean towards that and being able to balance it. So when I'm having the battle in my mind, and this is critical for you out there that are listening, if you are having that battle, so is your customer, so is your client, so is the individual you're negotiating with. They're having, should I buy this now? Is it worth it? Is this really the best price? So when you know the language and you know what takes place, it can take you to the next level. So it's the thing that allows me to think, okay, my prefrontal says, look, I know in 5 years, this is going to be taken care of. This is going to be paid off. I know right now, hallelujah, it's greater when it's later. I'm a hold on. See, and that's why the Japanese do so well, the children, because they know that delayed gratification. But we got to have it now, have it now, have it now, have it now, have it now. And Dr. Wood, have it now. And that's the thing that gets us in trouble. We miss so many opportunities. And this is the thing that allows you to have the mental discipline when you're able to recognize when the conversation begins in your head. You could tell I get excited about this subject.
Oh, this is a great topic. And by the way, everybody who just tuned in on the Black Financial Channel, I want to make sure you subscribe to theblackfinancialchannel.com. I'm speaking with Miss Linda Clemons, and her website is lindaclemons.com. She's a body language expert, nonverbal communication expert. She's a CEO of Sisterpreneur Inc. So make sure you hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. And also, I want to jump in and ask you a question. Since we're talking about the subconscious mind, the prefrontal cortex, I'm gonna show you a picture of a couple of the images that we have heated discussions on my YouTube channel, Dr. Boyce TV. We talk about everything affecting Black people. So this week we talked about this image behind my head. Do you know who that is?
Oh, but who is that? Yes, who is that?
I'll move out of the way. There you go. Can you see it?
Is that not Eve? No, who? Yes, I see it.
Oh, do you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, it is Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And
it's going like this.
These are the two biggest rappers out right now.
Look at that pose. Look at that pose.
Here's another. This is their video, right? That just came out. It is very, very sex driven. The whole time. The video actually, the name of the song is called WAP, and WAP stands for wet ass puh puh puh. And I didn't like saying the word ass, but I'm not gonna go to. But I want to ask you about that, because a lot of the conversation that we had, and it was very difficult to really kind of lay this out for some people. Some people got it instantly, some people didn't. But marrying an expert on the subconscious mind, we have constant conversations about how the music we listen to, and that you repeat over and 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 over again, will affect your behavior in a very sneaky, subtle way, to the point where you don't even realize you've been influenced. And I really believe that in media, there's a constant plague on the subconscious of Black people that perpetuates, certain negativity, certain behavior that's not always the healthiest, best behavior. And so I went and I jumped in and talked about this video because everybody was talking about it. Now, these artists, some of the biggest fans are 8-year-old girls, 9-year-old girls. And if you go listen to, if I showed you the lyrics of the song, it would really make you blush, Miss Clemons. That you're a grown woman, so I'm sure you know the kind, we all do, right? But children being exposed to this on a regular basis was a problem for me because of what you said, the subconscious mind. And I'd like for you to get your take on it in terms of, if you're exposing children to, messages in music that are very violent, that are promoting addiction to drugs and alcohol, that are promoting extremely irresponsible sexual promiscuity, promoting some of the very toxic, deadly things that we see in our community. What do you think, what would an expert on the subconscious mind have to say about all of that?
So this is very critical. And because I did radio for 15 years, I'm a speaker of soundbite. The thing you think on the longest becomes the strongest in your life. So when you have something, just like Pavlov's dog, when you have repetition ongoing, then next thing you know, it begins to program your mind. Back in the day, years ago, they even said with live radio, brick and mortar, that the sound waves were even conditioning and doing something to the minds of those individuals in the inner city, our Black people. So can you imagine, they're making millions and millions of dollars, and the lyrics, and they've even played back the lyrics of some of the music that's out there, particularly like rock music and certain kind of music, that some of the lyrics were actually demonic, saying certain terms and words. So that's what it does when it programs you. How do you understand when you are listening to meditative music? Why does it calm you? Why does studies show that you're listening to certain music like classical music, Beethoven? Do you know that a certain classical music can actually raise the IQ, believe it or not, give you a heightened sensitivity because of how it programs the brain waves? So can you understand, you can take an innocent 17 or 18-year-old 18-year-old and literally program his mind to become a killer. You can put someone into a room and constantly play certain music or words or what have you, and it will get in their subconscious, particularly if they're listening to it at night when they go to sleep and they go into alpha to data state. It programs them. This thing is real. It is real. Do you know I do a training, a class, Dr. Watkins, on sales hypnotherapy using extraverbal, ultraverbal suggestions, simply saying words in conversation, in sales process, in negotiation that you'll mess around and think it's your idea. And next thing you know, you're handing me your credit card or writing a check for $10 or $100,000 because of the words that I use. That's how powerful. So imagine taking the words and the sounds and the cadence. You hear the drum. They've done studies on this, believe it or not, that there's certain beats of music. There's a certain cadence of music that they can predict. They can predict which ones are going to be a bestseller. So they research all that music. And so anything that begins goes back to the drums of Mother Africa. Anytime that has the body gyrating, and the sexual aphrodisiac is very powerful. So now we have little 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, little tweens, our little babies that are looking at this music, and they're watching the attraction. They're watching the validation and the attention that they're getting, and they want that kind of attention. And half of those people that do that, and what they don't realize, half of them don't live like that. It's part of their business that they can separate it. Even our dynamic lady Beyonce, by nature, she's an introvert. She's an introvert by nature. That on stage, she gave a name, Sasha Fierce. So that's what, because when you interview her and you watch her, and I'm reading her body language, you don't see her hanging around too many of her girls. You don't see that. Many of them, that when the celebrities, they go out, you see them with their entourage. She's an introvert. Our president that we missed, President Obama, he's an introvert by nature. Introverts are great one-on-one. So lots of times what you all see, for those of you that got kids out there and you're being influenced, what you see, they are listening to them, those entertainers, and they're not listening to you. They're not listening to you because their little minds have been programmed, and then all of a sudden they become rebellious. Let me tell you how powerful the mind is. Now, some of you out there, maybe a little younger than me, but many of you may remember remember that little Pac-Man? Remember the computer game, the Pac-Man? Mm-hmm. Okay, so check this out. They were utilizing Pac-Man, the program, in some of the hospitals, children's hospitals, where the kids had terminal cancer, had cancer, right? And the kids where you have and they told them that this one is the cancer cell, and this one is the hero that's going to conquer that. And so as the kids begin to play the game, show you how powerful the mind is, some of the children, their cancer went into remission.
And I believe it. I believe
you got me ripped up.
No, I completely believe it, because I remember Alicia, my fiance, I call her Dr. Alicia because she is a real PhD. She mentioned in the car 3 days ago to me. She said that people that are sick, a lot of them will get well just because they're going on the way to the hospital, just because they're going to the doctor. They will start to get better because the mind does something very special to the body. And I think that it's, I think it's tragically sad when we don't understand the power of the mind and the power of the subconscious and how that plays a part. And when I started learning about the subconscious, and I looked at all the ways that the subconscious mind of Black people is controlled and manipulated by people who don't want you to be free and empowered, I became I got angry and afraid and just stunned. I said, because you're handing your mind over to these people that don't have your best interest at heart. And let me just tell you one little interesting little side note. So I was really analyzing some of what was going on with the rappers and some of the things they were saying, things like that. And I showed a picture of that Cardi B rapper I was telling you about. And I talked to a friend who's an expert on fetal alcohol syndrome. And fetal alcohol syndrome destroys that prefrontal cortex. That's the biggest problem with it, and she said it affects millions and millions of our kids because if their mothers drink heavily, they may not know that they're pregnant till 3 or 4 weeks in, but all that time that baby's been consuming alcohol. And she said that's enough to destroy your child's brain function. For the children have the inability to really think logically, a lot of the violence, a lot of the ADHD issues, things like that. And I thought that was interesting too, because when you're talking about the mind and the importance of that prefrontal cortex, just in your ability to think on a higher level, just to even do something as basic as plan for your future, delayed gratification, right? Because you think about that, Professor Ken Sapolsky at Stanford University actually says he's an expert on the brain and how how similar our brains are to animals in certain contexts. He said the only thing that separates the human brain mostly from the animal brain is about 5%. And most of that 5% is in that prefrontal cortex. So if you don't have the prefrontal cortex properly developed and the ability to think logically and rationally and long term or whatever the case may be, then you're gonna behave in ways that some would say is consistent with an animal. And you think about, how does an animal act? If a dog sees a pretty female dog, you know what he's gonna do with that dog. He ain't worried about child support. He ain't thinking about STDs. He ain't thinking about condoms. He ain't thinking about baby's mama drama. None of that. If you put food in front of a dog, you give a dog a week's worth of food. He's not gonna eat a little bit today and save some for tomorrow. He's gonna eat it all, and then he's gonna starve for the rest of the week, right? So I think that we have to have more conversations like this, so that we can understand the importance of protecting and nurturing our minds, so that we can evolve ourselves into people that make good decisions and can delay gratification. Because delayed gratification is one of the leading factors that determines success of a human being and actually success of a culture. When they rated which cultures have the most successful people, it was actually, according to this study, the Nigerians ranked the highest. And they said that one of the strongest factors was a commitment to education, very high self-esteem, very strong cultural pride, and the ability to delay gratification, which comes from that prefrontal cortex. What are your thoughts on that? I'm not even going to ask a question on that. I'm just going to let you just
amen.
go.
I agree 100. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And that's one of the things that's happening with the wealth in our community, because the money goes out of the community so quick because I got to have it now. I got to keep up with this. I got to do this and this and that. We cannot say, you know what? I got a brother or sister over here. They're this close for taking their business to the next level. I know I got my business, my dream right here. I got it in my head, but I got to get my blueprint together, but I've got the money to seed into that business. We don't do that. We don't do that because we got to have everything now, the biggest car, the biggest house, all of this, everything right now. And we don't understand what listen, how delayed gratification, I guess use the butterfly, the caterpillar. A little caterpillar, and I was sharing this with my brother, that, when the caterpillar comes out, of course it comes into a butterfly, right? But in order to do that, I remember when we were little, you would play outside and you would see that, and you would want to help them out of the shell. Here's what happens. When you crack open the shell and help the caterpillar out, it doesn't add its colors. It won't get its colors because it has to go through the struggle to flap those little wings. And that's what actually activates the colors. So when our children don't understand the delayed gratification, then they go out into society and expect everyone is going to treat them like mom and daddy did, because you have young parents, young mamas, young daddies that says, I don't want them to go through what I went through. You ain't went through nothing. You have not went through nothing. So when they get society, they expect everything instantly, and that is why their little feelings get hurt. And I'm speaking to those of you that got millennials out there. This is the generation, more than any generation that's out there, that will seek psychiatric help than any other generation before us. So when they go into corporations, they're going in because they're looking for the societal, they're looking for the community. And corporations, they're not looking, says, oh, I gotta wait 25 years to get my gold watch or get this. Or they go in and work 3 months in the job. Okay, when I get promoted to VP. So they don't understand, because someone said, I don't want them to go through what I went through. So you didn't allow them to get their colors and their stripes and their wings, because they don't understand what the struggle is. If they're poured sunshine on their life all the time, they won't know how to survive when it rains, or when there's a storm, they won't know how to do it. And then they go out to society and they're not prepared. That's why they can't hold jobs. Studies have showed they're on jobs over long, if anything, 18 months, if that's long enough. And now they want that nurturing in the corporate environment, and they're not getting it. Let me tell you something. And they miss out on things, and they jump from job to job. And of course, they're depressed. And many of the clients that I work with, I says, one of the things you may want to do, have a psychotherapist, a social worker, a psychologist come in once or twice a month so they can go in there and empty, because this is what's important to this generation. And they like to have so they're into the social and the emotional thing. It's easier for you and I to say, look, we work hard. Give me my raise. I done put in my time. But they're not moved by that. They're moved by when you bring them in and says, I just want to tell you, you're a valuable part of this team. You're doing a great job. We value you, because they came out of the nest with the nurturing. They did not earn their colors.
Mm. Well, you know what? Hey, everybody, are you hearing this? I'm gonna tell you. I look in the chat, and everybody's feeling this. Somebody wrote that we having church on Wednesday, and that's right. That's right.
Good week.
Yeah, this is your economic church. You need that spiritual piece. You know, that's the spirit, the spiritual piece, the faith, the energy. That's what's going to make you guys successful. Say something in the chat if you get what we're saying and what we're talking about. Do me a favor, everybody, on the Black Financial Channel, please hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up button on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. That makes more people come in the algorithm. More people will see the video. And y'all know our people need to hear this, because we don't get enough of this. We don't get enough of the possibility. We get too much of the whole, these are all the bad things that can happen, and don't you dare jump out there. You know, I love the way you communicate, largely because I love the discussion of all of our possibilities, you know, all the great things that we can do as people when we put our mind to it. And when you're talking about those millennials, I'll tell you what, Alicia does a lot of therapy. A lot of her clients are younger, and you're right. A lot of them, unfortunately, had the misfortune of growing up in a generation where every kid in the sporting event got a trophy. I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up thinking I should get a trophy just because I showed up. Yeah, I grew up dealing with the disappointment of not winning and then learning how to win later on. My first karate tournament, I've never told this story, but the first time I was ever in a karate tournament, I got my butt kicked. It was an embarrassment. I went out there and you score points by hitting each other, whatever. And I lost. I mean, I really remember feeling sad and devastated and humiliated because it didn't go well. Well, that drove me. That gave me determination to go practice and work on my skill set and everything else. And the next time I went out there in another big tournament, I competed in 2 events with lots of other kids. I got first place in each event, 2 first place trophies. And that was the earliest lesson I remember in the fact that you have to go through the pain to get to the prosperity. You have to go to hell to get to heaven sometimes. And so it really, if you've never been to hell, then to me, you've never really known what it's like to be blessed. Your hell really is a blessing. And so I'm thankful for almost every type of hell I went through. I'm just glad it didn't kill me. I guess if it killed me, that'd have been bad. But since it didn't kill me, it gave me my colors. It gave me my stripes. And every young person listening, I want you to make sure you internalize this. So let me ask you this, Ms. Clemons.
Dr. Rock,
Yes,
can I have what you said when you said karate? It reminded one of my favorite movies. And of course, I like the one Will Smith did the remake of it, but the Karate Kid, because you remember wax on, wax off. The kid wanted to learn karate or learn martial arts so he can handle the bullies in the school, but he wanted it now. He wanted to learn and you can't there's no such thing as instant karate or anything instant in martial arts, but he wanted to learn it now. And so, but he couldn't understand why the master is a sensei or whoever had him do this, but it was building the strength, had him do this. And it was when he was challenged, he was able to do the block, able to do that, but he didn't understand it. And sometimes to young people out there, when we explain it to you, you don't get it. See, that's the thing. When we explain it to you, well, this is why you want to do this. That doesn't make sense to me. Well, why would it? Because you don't know. Sometimes when you go through the experience, no one can tell you it doesn't make sense, because guess what? You now own it. You now own it. Because once you experience it, you own it.
Well, and I agree with you. I mean, I think that there's nothing. It's almost everything has a balance to it, and I don't think any child is going to always benefit by never going through a struggle. I think that as parents who are in a generation where things are a little bit better for us than they were for us growing up. You know, our parents, we were able to do more for our kids than our parents were able to do for us. And what that does is that gives me the ability to calibrate the nature of the struggle my child goes through, right? It allows me to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand where like when I was growing up, it got so crazy. Somebody really could have got killed. You know, somebody really could have ended up out in the street, you know, going to prison, selling drugs, you know, or prostituting or whatever to get by. But, you know, because you make a lot of tough decisions when you don't have any money. But now I feel like because I have resources, it's still not my job to make life cushy and easy for the children. I need to make sure they have the blessing that I had of going through a struggle. And I think the benefit I have is being able to shape the nature of their training ground so that they can be ready to go out here and fight. Because if you're not ready to fight through adversity, then you're not ready to win. You're not ready to succeed.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this question, Ms. Clemons. And by the way, I'm speaking to Linda Clemons.
You tell me, Linda, because it makes me, we say Ms. Clemons makes me older.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, but I know you might be 26, 27 years old now, but you're gonna have to act your age, ma'am. So, so we have the 28-year-old Linda Clemons here. Linda is the CEO and founder of Sisterpreneur Inc. And her website is lindaclemons.com. That's CLEMONS. So you should go look her up. So I wanted to ask you one last question, actually, before we take off. So in terms of body language, what body language do you see when I talk, when I've been communicating with you, if you were to evaluate, and feel free to be honest, don't feel like
you still love me. You'll still love me, right? You still love me. Now you notice that I did my hands like this. You'll still love me, like surrender. Hands are very important. And so just tell you what everybody. So one of the things that makes Dr. Watkins so awesome is that he uses his hands. Your most popular TED talkers, the high rated speeches of all the TED talks, the speakers do at least 475 gestures with their hands. The ones who are low rated are under 200. So you're constantly using your hands and you're taking up space, which is very powerful. The reason why the hands are important, because when the hands are hidden, it begins, I'm wondering what you're doing. Police officers, CIA, FBI, we look at the hands. We look at the hands because the hands give us your intent. Back in primitive time, the hands, very important. When I would approach a stranger, I would look at the hands to make sure there was no weapons in their hands, or if they didn't have something, or if they were gonna try to take any of my stuff, the hands. First thing a police officer says, if your suspect, hands up, to make sure nothing is in those hands. So that's powerful. Now, on a personal note, and when you say your fiance, so are you, what I would say, are you newly married, under a year, 2 years? You're freshly married out of the pot?
We're going to get married next July. It was going to be this July.
You keep speaking that. That's good. So what I appreciate about you, and having not even knowing you personally, just knowing of your reputation and your excellence, one thing I do appreciate about you, your brain is constantly going, so you get a lot of things on your plate. And most women get accused of multitasking, but you got a lot of things going on. Because you have to be constantly creating and producing and things of that sort. I think over the years, which has been very powerful because of your social justice drive, you had to learn through growing up and through experiences and through mentors. One of the things you had to learn, Dr. Watkins, is patience. Is patience. Because you have what we call lightning thinking. And if people are not, sometimes you have to learn over the years now, because if someone's not on that level, if I'm coming to you and I'm working with you on something, I got to get straight to the point to get to what I'm doing, because your mind is racing far ahead. If you're explaining something, everybody, you may get, I can explain something to you, you get it quickly, somebody may not get it as quickly. You could jump in and have to kind of get the summary and break it down, because you think very, very fast. You think very fast. The other thing, before you got on your path of developing and talking about wealth, has it always been important to you to save money, to hold on to money, or did you come from a part of where you were spending a lot? Because you could be.
I was a spender.
You were a major spender. Okay, I was just trying to be nice because I know you on the wealth piece. Okay, I'm trying to be nice. So you were a spender. You were a passionate spender. You were an emotional spender. You were the kind of spender that help a brother out, help a sister out. They can give you a good story. So you had to learn to discipline yourself in that area, because if not, it could have, in your younger years, it could have gotten you in trouble.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like you. It sounds okay. It sounds like you're part psychic apparently.
People
Because
say I get accused of that. I'm gonna have
yeah,
my niece over here fix my eyelash here because I'm trying to look cute for you all here.
oh,
You
she
know.
looks. Everybody in the chat, tell her how cute she looks. Tell her she looks
Yeah, do
great.
I look cute? Because I had to try to, beat, as what's the kid say? I had to beat my face. All right.
Oh, you look great. You look great. But that was a really telling point you just made. Because even to this day, I'm still a spender. It's just I had to calibrate. You're right about the discipline piece. I had to learn what one of the things is as an introvert, I had to learn how to balance all the energy coming at me and all different people asking for different things, stuff like that. So you have to learn how to draw your boundaries and just say no to people, things like that. But then also that whole part about spending, that was a big problem I had. In fact, that was why I became an investor and a business owner, is because I didn't want to have to stop spending. I'm not good at just, holding on and cuddling my money. And, no, I was the person that says, okay, I know how much I want to spend. Let me go make more money so I can spend at this level and I'll be living below my means. I had to have a higher income. I didn't want to try to survive on a tiny budget. And so you're right. And then the other thing I did was,
And the generosity kind of went into that spending too, though, because
yeah,
it's you power. You do things for folks. You do this. I mean, and it just it's good that you got a good fiance that balances you out.
yeah, yeah. Well, as a man, I also feel that if you are a man who has any type of success, you have a role and a responsibility to look out for others. I've always seen myself, in the role of a defender, protector, because I saw that with my father. So if I see a child that needs something, needs some food, or needs some encouraging words, and for that 10 minutes, that's my child. You know,
See?
and I just believe that that's as a community, I really believe in that village aspect. So there's no part of my success that I feel I own as an individual. This is everybody's success, but at the same time, to your point, you have to learn a balance, because I also witness people like for example, some of the best pastors and other individuals that they give so much of themselves, or moms do this a lot, where they give so much away, there's nothing left.
Right,
The
right.
core is depleted, and I didn't want to. I don't want my core depleted, because that's a terrible place to be. So you're right. Everything that you said makes perfect sense, and I
People
still.
accuse me of being a psychic. It's strange that you said that, because my niece started laughing, because they're you could Google body language experts, Dr. Watkins, and there are thousands of them out there all over the world. And one of the things that Dr. Frazier said, and my clients have said, they said, what's different about you can read the person without them moving. And that's why I was asking if they were in the chat or if they were going to do voices, because I also analyze and read voices as well. So thank you for allowing me to read you and allow me to go in that space that talked about the spending, because you know that there were emotional triggers that you have that you would start spending, and it would give you it was called a pacifying emotions that allowed you to soothe and calm, and gave you it could be a false sense of power, at the same time a pacifier, and you recognize that, and because you recognize that, you're able to help so many people. So hopefully I get to come back again and we get to talk about some more things. It's
Yes.
an honor to be on your show. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Well, I'm honored to have you, and I hope everybody in the chat who's listening, who's gained all this valuable knowledge from Miss Clemons, Linda Clemons, will give her a digital thank you. Give her a big digital round of applause, please. Let her know how much you appreciate not just the intellect, but the great energy. I love the energy, and so everybody who doesn't know, her name is Linda Clemons, Clemons. She's the CEO of Sisterpreneur Inc., and her website is lindaclemons.com. That's 1M, not 2. Also, please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe. Make sure you sign up for the Black Financial Channel, theblackfinancialchannel.com. We do daily financial news and commentary from a Black perspective, so make sure you subscribe. Please share this video. And also, Ms. Clemons, after we say goodbye, don't hang up, because I'm going to talk to you afterwards. Have a proper goodbye. But until then, I want to say to everybody, thank you for listening. God bless you. And I look forward to seeing all of you again very, very soon. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.